Disney has been in the news recently thanks to its stance on all things woke, but the company can seemingly do no right at the moment, as people on the other side of the debate have criticized them for not standing up against Florida's Don't Say Gay bill. Today, we're discussing all sides of the affair amidst people slapping back against Disney for their stance on all things LGBTQ+. Don't go anywhere. First up, let's go back to last year's changes at Disney. Disney sparked outrage among conservatives last year when they got rid of some supposedly classic scenes. Amongst them was a red-haired girl on the Pirates of the Caribbean ride who had once been sold off as a bride but was then turned into a pirate instead. And this was the first in a long line of changes the company implemented to become more inclusive. So what's the problem? Well, on the surface, nothing. The company has said that they want to make sure everybody has the best time, which is an admirable stance, of course. The company has said that they aim to give their workers, who they call cast members, more freedom with things like costume choices, hairstyles, and visible tattoos, with the idea being that they want their customers to see reflections of themselves in the cast. And Disney exec Chris Beatty said, "We want to make sure everybody has the best time, that guests from all over the world can connect with the stories we share, and that how we bring those to life are respectful for the diverse world we live in." The company also suggested that the changes were designed so that their cast members felt a sense of belonging at work. Of course, all of this seems to be positive, so it begs the question, what is the problem with the changes Disney have recently implemented? Give us your thoughts on the company-wide changes below. So let's discuss people's problem with Disney's new outlook. Stay tuned. Of course, there will always be pushback on perceived controversial topics, and Disney's recent change of direction is no different. And since the implementation, fans have started a petition to save Splash Mountain from perceived wokeness. The company has also been criticized by conservatives for what they see as a progressive agenda. And last year, one article, written by a guest columnist in the Orlando Sentinel, went viral after its author suggested that wokeness was ruining his Disney experience. I mean, he can just ignore it and choose to enjoy the rides, right? He wrote, "The next time I ride Jungle Cruise, I will not be thinking about the gloriously entertaining puns of the skippers. I will be thinking about Disney's political agenda." That's a mood killer. But some have even criticized the company for not being woke enough. A recent reviewer of the Snow White ride claimed that at the end of the ride, Snow White is kissed by the prince, but this is clearly non-consensual, as she is asleep. The reviewers, Julie Tremaine and Katie Dowd, wrote, "It's hard to understand why the Disneyland of 2021 would choose to add a scene with such old-fashioned ideas of what a man is allowed to do to a woman, especially given the company's current emphasis on removing problematic scenes from rides like Jungle Cruise and Splash Mountain. I mean, lost for words doesn't come close." What do you guys make of all this? What's happened recently then? Well, thanks to Disney's new inclusive outlook, Florida's Don't Say Gay bill hasn't sat right with some of the company's workers, which is hardly unsurprising. But right at the forefront is Disney's response to the bill. It has been suggested that the company have sent mixed messages over the past few months, at one time being accused of being overly woke, whilst simultaneously being accused of supporting a homophobic bill. And last month, some workers even walked out, which prompted the company to issue a statement denouncing Florida's bill. The statement was seen as a win for the organizers of the walkout and the company's diverse workforce. Disney employs around 190,000 workers, many of whom identify as somewhere on the LGBTQ+ spectrum. And these guys have spoken out recently in response to Disney CEO Bob Chapek's slow response to the bill. The legislation bans instruction on sexual orientation of gender identity in kindergarten through 3rd grade. But a lot of Disney employees believe it is important for children to be able to understand and welcome all aspects of sexual orientation and gender identity. Disney has also been accused of bending to cancel culture by Republicans recently, whilst also being slammed for not responding to the bill. However, they cannot really do anything about it, so their workers are fighting a losing battle by striking, which unions had warned them not to do as it would defy contractual obligations. What do you guys make of all this? So what has been the pushback then? Well, an overwhelming majority of America's population has pushed back against the response of Disney's workers, suggesting that there is never a scenario in which a 5-year-old needs to learn about, let alone understand, gender identity or sexual orientation. And this stance is pretty hard to disagree with. Whilst it is obviously an important issue for high schoolers who are going through bodily changes and might want to explore different aspects of gender identity, these issues could be seen as corrupting the innocence of kindergarten-aged children. And some even went as far as to suggest that the planned walkout of Disney employees was simply lazy, and the Don't Say Gay bill was only called that by people who, quite obviously, hadn't read the legislation. The bill obviously has the age of the child in mind and simply serves to ban formal education on sexual orientation or gender identity for students in kindergarten through 3rd grade, or in any manner that is not age-appropriate or developmentally appropriate. Some critics have suggested that the bill is hateful, whilst the vast majority of Americans think that it makes sense. 51% of voters supported the bill, whilst just 35% said they were against it during an early poll. poll. And it was also suggested by another poll that a lot of Democrats who are traditionally progressive were also against the bill. Where do you guys stand on this issue? Why was Disney singled out to oppose the bill then? As we mentioned earlier, Disney is a huge employer in Florida and also California, and after opening back in 1971, quickly rose to become the biggest employer in the state. And once they placed all their eggs in their progressive basket over the past couple of years, their stance as a champion of all things LGBTQ+ was solidified. And of course, it is an admirable stance to fight for equality, but they have seemingly shot themselves in the foot. Some people have claimed that the bill is hateful and rooted in the same anti-LGBTQ animus that has been used to justify discrimination and violence against us, LGBTQ+ people, forever. Of course, this is a very dramatic viewpoint. But Disney would have been expected to speak out as soon as word of the bill was first mentioned. The company donates millions each year to both Republican and Democratic causes to keep things sweet between themselves and the state government, so the clout they obviously have cannot be denied. However, they have historically tended to steer clear of commenting on such controversial issues, instead choosing to play the part of a good corporate citizen. But their workers have lamented them for this stance, suggesting that the power and influence they hold in the state, coupled with their charitable works, means they ultimately, more than likely, hold the power to quash a bill such as this. What do you make of Disney's initial silence? And finally, a bit of positive Disney news now. Stick around. As you probably know, the Buzz Lightyear origin story, Lightyear, provided fans with a sneak peek earlier this week at CinemaCon, and Disney employees, as well as people who understand that gay people should have the same rights as anyone else, will be delighted to learn that a controversial gay kiss scene has been restored. The scene, which had been previously deleted, was restored after Disney employees sent a letter to the company's CEO, Bob Chapek, accusing them of hiding same-sex affection. The letter read, "Nearly every moment of overtly gay affection is cut at Disney's behest, regardless of when there is protest from both the creative teams and executive leadership at Pixar. Even if creating LGBTQIA+ content was the answer to fixing the discriminatory legislation in the world, we are being barred from creating it." And following their previous progressive stance, the company removing gay characters could be seen as pretty strange. But it has also been suggested that it was done to appease overtly homophobic states, such as Russia and China, as well as countries in the Middle East. Like, gay people don't exist there, right? Are you going to watch Lightyear at the movie theater when it drops? Let us know below. As always, thanks for tuning in today, and remember to tune in next time for more fun and games. Also, why not help us out by liking and sharing today's video, as well as subscribing to our channel so as not to miss out on any great content next time. Bye guys!